Welcome to the Unfinished Work Show. I'm Mike Lake. This is episode 13, and I am back after a couple weeks of hiatus. I want to say what's up to everybody, all the supporters, anybody who messaged me, anybody who conversated with me about anything. Is it converse? You know what I mean. All the conversations I've been having have been really interesting. In response to a post I sent out, I actually had a convo with one of my friends who divulged that he was atheist, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that as we get into the show. But for now, episode 14? See, I'm off. It's either 13 or 14. I'll know when I do all of this in post. But like I said, I'm back after a couple weeks. This last couple weeks has been really interesting. I found that in the midst of trying to do, I wouldn't necessarily say everything. Michelle would certainly say I've been trying to do everything. The things that I have been doing have been taking a toll. For instance, I was taking some classes this summer. I'm still taking classes to finish my degree. And just the midterm finals, it was a 6-week accelerated course. And that was just taxing, to say the least. Every day was something, a bunch of quizzes, chapters to read, all that stuff we used to do in school. It wasn't a problem to get back into the fold of it. It was just the condensed nature of it. For instance, having to take 3 tests in one day because I worked 6 days that week, and this was the only day I had to do it, that kind of stuff. But no complaints. Knocked it all out, ended the class with an A, wrote a couple really dope papers. That was a humanities class. And one of the assignments was to do a scene breakdown of a movie. And I chose one of my all-time favorite movies of recent, Into the Spider-Verse. And broke down that if you saw the movie, you recalled a scene where him and Peter B were talking in a room. And Peter B was trying to get the thing from him. And he told him he couldn't come because he was trying to save his life. And they basically tied him to a chair and left. And then immediately after that, his dad showed up at the door and was talking to him through the door. Man, powerful scene, especially for me, being that, if you don't know, I love the movie because I've always been a Spider-Man, a Marvel nerd and a Spider-Man fan. But this particular Spider-Man, Miles, he reminded me of my son. If you look at him, you look at a picture of my son, this kid's Afro-Latino. My kid's African American and West Indian. Neither here nor there. He just reminded me of my son. His style, his attitude, the way he moved, his build and everything. He reminded me of my son. And then also the struggles and stuff that they put on the screen in both the first movie and the second movie were just stuff that he's going through as a teenager, and identify with that same stuff as a teenager, but then also as a father of his. That scene was crazy. The dad just reaching out to him through the door. His brother had just died, spoiler alert, and which would be Miles' uncle. He was just reaching out to him and telling him he didn't want him to stray too far. And I broke that scene down. I had a good time doing it. And then for my final, we had to do a artistic experience review of some performance, whether it be musical, theater, or orchestra. And we had to actually watch it during the class. So it can be something that we had watched previously. And with limited time, it's a 6-week class. I just chose a musical performance. I actually chose Kendrick Lamar's the last tour he was on. I don't know why I drew a blank on that. I wrote a whole paper about it 2 days ago. Kendrick Lamar's Mr. Morale and the Steppers tour. I watched the whole thing. Broke it down, gave some emphasis. I had a good time doing it, which is, again, my favorite album from last year. So it wasn't hard to really get into the meaning of it, but I had to include a breakdown of the way it was filmed from an artistic point of view, and the performance itself, on top of adding elements of the music. So I had a good time doing all of that. 6-week course. I actually took 2 6-week classes back to back. So for the last 12 weeks, I've been doing that, and it was fun. It was interesting just kind of being back in school after many, I'm gonna just stop at too many years. But let's get back to what we're here to talk about today. So I didn't have a specific topic. I had a lot on my mind. as I was trying to come up with a themed topic, I just figured I've been gone for 2 weeks. I probably got a lot to say. One would think, I mean, when don't I have a lot to say? But I didn't want to do a themed topic. I kind of just wanted to cover a few of the things that's been on my mind. And first one I'll start with is rest and healing. It's funny. Don't you think it's funny? Don't you think it's funny how as soon as you hit your stride, you're doing your thing, you have a little setback, you're trying to bounce back and get back into the swing of things, and then God just say, like, literally sit down. I had over the last 2 weeks a feeling of like physically and mentally being drained, feeling like things are coming from nothing in particular, nothing specific. It's nothing I would hit y'all up to be like, I'm going through something. I'm not actually going through anything. It actually feels like a little bit of attrition from a change in my mindset about how I see everyday things in life. So just sitting with and being with my thoughts after certain things happen. While I say that, this just popped into my head. Rest in peace to all those lost in the Maui incident. I'm not really sure what happened with that quite yet. I know there was a fire, and I believe there might have been a hurricane that made it worse. But a lot of people missing and dead. And it'd be stuff like that where you just kind of think about the feelings of other people that's going through things, because thank God I'm not, that I had the time and the mental capacity and the care and the love to be like, there's people hurting out in the world, not just on a large stage like this tragedy, but even on a small day to day when you have conversations with people or you see things that people post online. And I'm being very vague. When I say people, I mean real life people that I know. And then you take that on, and it, like, as you're empathizing, you're trying to walk with them and carry that load, and it becomes heavy at a time. And there's a couple days where I really had to just sit down and just do something to clear my head. I still been doing a lot of read. I haven't been doing the 75 hard. Actually, the doctor just cleared me this week to return to fitness, so I'm excited about that. But I have been reading continual. I have still been doing some of the other stuff like the diet and drinking. But with that being said, so just clear your mind, read your Bible, pray, sit by yourself, do something mundane to clear your thoughts, get out in the yard. I've done a lot of that type stuff, but I've still been feeling drained, just absolutely zero in my battery. Even now, you probably could tell in my voice and my general demeanor that I just kind of feel like there's a drain on me. And I think, like I said, I don't think it's anything specific or particular. It's just more being aware of the struggles that everybody else is going through and wishing I could do more, praying I could do more. But when God tell you to sit down, it was one particular day I remember I came home from work and nothing particular crazy happened at work. I did my job, I came home, normal day. And I sat down here at the computer to finish my job. I always have to do a written report on the back end of my day. And I couldn't lift my hands. I felt super empty. Some people came to my door. I didn't feel like walking over there to answer it. I barely felt like dragging my feet on over to the bed. But I did. I jumped in there, took a quick nap, woke up on the other side and did, you guessed it, yard work, which I don't think Michelle was too happy about. But I needed that rest. I severely needed it that day. I felt it in all aspects of myself. Like I just couldn't pull it together. And sometimes you got to do that. Sometimes you got to sit down, take rest, restock, recharge, and all of that. So you can get back to what you're doing. And with that, I think I'll get into this thought that I was having about goals. As you, excuse me, as you set your tasks or not your tasks, as you set your list of like, these are goals I want to achieve, you'll come to sub lists of things you need to do to achieve each one. But for simplicity, let's focus on one. If you have a goal, you say you want to achieve it. I've actually been learning that some people have a mental block, just even at the use of the word goal, that it sounds like this lofty, distant, unobtainable thing to some people. It just depends on how your brain process. For some, it's just as easy as a goal is a thing I need to do, and then the little things that I need to do to complete that. But not for everybody. And I believe, I'm not sure who said it. It's one of those things I just heard along the way. But some CEO, I was watching Diary of a CEO, I believe, in an interview, and the guy basically was saying that he found that in his leadership meetings, he was teaching or leaning on his leaders to change that mindset from goals to impact. And ironically enough, I found that very impactful myself, just even hearing those words. Not that I needed them, but just the idea of looking at completion of tasks from a different perspective. A goal is off in the distance. I need to get there. But impact, if you focus on the impact, you have a clearly stated goal. It's like the theme of a story. What impact do I want to have with this task? For instance, what impact do I want to have with unfinished work? I hope to create a community of people who are inspired to achieve said goals and make a major impact on others other than themselves, something of a peer mentor group. And not even peer, maybe just an outright mentor group. At some point, I like to grow that community into something akin to like a big brother, where you could take people who need, more seasoned, experienced people in their lives and mentor them outright. But even then, you still need peer mentorship, other people that you can stand shoulder to shoulder with that can actually help you in whatever moments that you might be having. So if goal just sounds like this like cookie cutter word that you're too used to hearing, it doesn't get the juices flowing, it don't make you sit up in your chair and listen, then when you hear goal, train yourself to think impact. What impact do I want to have with this thing? If you're doing something within your household, what impact is this going to have on my family? What impact will this have on my community? What impact will this have on myself? And if you focus on the impact, it's a lot easier to get things going because you're focused on the outcome rather than this tangible thing that might not be obtainable. Even me, I'm in school and I say, oh, my goal is to complete my degree. Like, oh, what impact will that have on my day to day? It means I could demand more at work. It means I could demand more in any new potential jobs. It means I have a confirmation of the information that I know in my head and the experience that I've shown in the field. The impact to me is immediate. It makes me a more, not tangible, it makes me, for lack of a better word, more sexy in the marketplace. Yeah, I like that one. Let's put that on my resume. Right next to the degree obtained. This should make me more sexy. But no, seriously, that is the point. The point is to have an impact on the target of the goal that you're trying to achieve, whether it be for self or family or community or anybody in that hierarchy, your kids, your wife, or whoever. So from here forward, I'm gonna try my best to focus on impact. I like goals too. Goals. I grew up playing sports, so to me, a goal is a thing you want to hit. It's a field goal if it's basketball. It's a soccer goal if it's football. But that was a weird way to word that sentence. It's a you get it. It's a soccer goal in soccer. Hockey goal, football touchdown, whatever it is that you want to put to that. I grew up playing sports, so ultimately a lot of our hard work and our practice and the things that we're trying to do has an end goal. But impact is a lot easier. It's a lot more palatable to digest. So focus on your impact. What impact do you want to make? The next time you're conversating with somebody you care about, somebody who listens to you, somebody you confide in, instead of sharing with them the goal, share with them the impact. And if it happens to be the person that benefits from the pursuit, I could see that being a lot more, let's just say, sexy to them. If I tell my girl, my future wife, hey, I got to go do this thing. My goal is to XYZ. Not that she's not going to ride for me, but she might not hear it as receptively as if I said, by making this impact, here's what it does for me or for you or for us. It's just received a lot better. So focus on impact and not goals, or both if you can handle both. So I wanted to talk a little bit about a conversation I had with a few of my closest homies a week or so back. We were, and it's going to lead to a point. I'll start with the point. How about I do that? The point is walking in faith. The setup to that was just one day we were chilling. I believe we were drinking a little bit. We were pre-gaming, nothing crazy. We were just sitting down, watching wrestling or something, and just talking, and just random conversation. It was not pointed. It wasn't this like, meeting of the minds where we sat down to have a deep conversation. We actually right before that was just debating the the impact of Kendrick Lamar versus Drake, and why Drake is more. I think the comparison. This part doesn't matter, but I just want to share it because I brought it up. Um, I think he was saying that Drake is Michael Jackson and Michael Jordan, whereas Kendrick is more Prince and LeBron James. I think that's what he was saying. I don't know. It was one of those debates that guys have. If you have an opinion, share it with me. Who's who, and what does it matter to you? Are you a Michael or a Prince fan? Jordan or LeBron, or Drake or Kendrick? Choose one of each. But I digress. In the midst of like right after that conversation, somehow it came up that it was their opinion that I think it was Jerry. Jerry was critiquing this very show, and he was just giving me what he watched a few of the episodes recently. He was like, "Hey man, I'm loving the show. I'm loving what it's doing for you," because he knows firsthand where I was at the end of the pour up. He was actually the one who pointed it out to me, that I just felt detached and just distant from the content that we were creating over there. That he sees the difference in the vibes of what's being made over here. Not that I wanted this to be a one-man show. Actually, this was always going to be a one-man show, but I love doing the pour with my friends. I love talking and having debates like the one I just posed a second ago. But he noticed it, and he said he could see the difference. And once again, it feels good to be seen in that way, where somebody could just kind of see through whatever exterior you're putting up. But it came with a critique. And I think this might be his like manager trainer or something, trying to put like what's a compliment sandwich on me. Like, hey, here's a compliment about your show. I love what you're doing. But, and then he hit me with the critique. And the critique was simply this: I love what you're doing, and I want you to just say what you got to say. Stop giving disclaimers. Because, and this is him, I'm quoting him, because when you give disclaimers, he's like, I'm listening to what you're saying and I'm vibing with the information. But when you give disclaimers, it takes him out of the fact that this is information being provided and this information is sound. It's like I give him a reason to doubt. And I know he knows me more than that. I think he was just more speaking on behalf of people who may listen to the show. That he was just giving like an objective critique, not as himself. With that said, it spawned an interesting conversation, and I took a moment to sit up in my chair like I just did and actually admit to him something that I wasn't quite sure. I know for sure I hadn't said it out loud, but I just, just being vulnerable, just shared it with the homies, and I'm gonna share it here with y'all. It's an interesting thing to kind of change the direction of not just the content you create, but the content of your character and the things you consume or the things that you export. And one of those things is like the type of conversation, the life I've been living this last year, the pursuits I've been chasing, the impact I've been trying to attain, that I'm still trying to figure it out while also giving advice on it as it's happening live. A live view into that level of like self-critique, tearing down of the self, this whatever this ego is that was built up over however many years until sometime around last year. That I've always been a confident dude. I don't have much in the way of anything to worry about. Hand me a mic, I'll jump up on the stage. I'll talk to y'all here. I'll talk to strangers. I'll do whatever. I'm very confident. But that in these new phases of my life, as I have been making that transition and I step into feeling more comfortable, I haven't been as confident with the things I speak. And that's why I was given the disclaimers. As soon as he said it, it almost like, it was like something I was working on in my head he brought it straight to the foreground. I just immediately responded with this exact point, that I feel less confident in these things that I know because I'm still trying to figure it out myself. But he continued, and Don joined in, that they definitely thought that there was something there. And as we talked about it, the homies do what homies gonna do, and they prop you up. And I don't think it was false propping. I think I've gotten a lot of great feedback on this show and some of the endeavors that I've taken outside of this show, in person, in real life, from any manner of people. But as those things start to kind of sit with me, I start to combine them with my always confident self. So in an effort to just stop second guessing the message, I will be making more, not confident statements, like, I brought you here to Kanye. No, I'll be making more just definitive affirmations on the things that I know. And I know a lot. And even if I'm in the moment of trying to figure that out myself, that there's more to be said about the steps I've taken, and maybe somebody's one step behind me. And I'm not saying that that's far. Think in terms of like football. I'm running a route. You right on my hip. Don't do what I did. Don't hesitate. Don't second guess yourself. Don't water down your message. And I think that was a great conversation I needed to have, and didn't even know I needed to have it. So the homies there. But how does that tie into walking in faith? It is exactly that. It's this surprising combination of this, like what I think, with the actions I take, and having those dictate the things that come out of my mouth, and being confident in them. I'm confident in my faith in private. I'm confident in the things that I do by myself, and or in the presence of my spouse, like praying or reading or discussing these different topics. And then the actions that I'm taking when nobody's looking, like, nobody can see me but God. He know what I'm up to, and he knows I've been on a great path. He knows that I still struggle with things, and I pray about it. And it to give a footnote, I was telling that atheist friend I mentioned earlier that this process isn't this like you accept Jesus and you jump into it and everything becomes sugar was it sugar drops and rainbows. It's not like that. It's actually quite the opposite, that you kind of join into this battle in progress, and without a whole lot of skill. It's like you woke up and they handed you a sword and was like, get out there, man, we're at war. That's kind of what happens. So yeah, you won't be confident. You don't know what's happening here. You don't know what you're doing. I don't even know half the time if what I'm saying is the right thing, but I know as I move in faith, I'm not here to steer anybody wrong, and I'm not above making mistakes. So I should just sit with that. Walking in faith is exactly that. It's literally, listen to how many times, if you listen back, I just said, I don't know, like 5 times. And that's what walking in faith is. It's not knowing and still taking those steps. It's not really being sure if you're giving the best advice and still giving that advice in love and with some research and skill and experience, and steering people or leading people or providing people a helpful word in the time of need and their time of even when it's not needed. It's just dialogue. Maybe they just need a voice. That I need to start being more confident in that level or that walk of faith. I got it up here in the mental. My mind feels pure. In the physical, I don't really act outside of character as I want to, as I walk in the word in the Bible. And now that has to come out in my confidence, in my, what would that be? The psyche? The unconscious? I don't know. Whatever level that is, the point is to walk in faith means to go into the unknown and just go confidently because God got your back. And that's what I will be doing. So salute to the homies. Once again, when you got a great circle around you, man, I don't think y'all understand. Your friends dictate way more about your growth than almost anything else. You yourself is part of it. Your spouse is another part of it. Like the main 2 parts is you, your spouse, but then that next circle of people is my friends. They're the people I talk to the most. And even though the ironic thing is they have their own individual struggles in their faiths. They still, without knowing, like God still uses them to keep me on task, and hopefully He uses me to bring them to a better place of where they want to be. But your friends dictate a lot. They push. They help you as you go through your processes. They pick you up when you're down. They knock you down when you up. Lovingly, if you start getting a big head, it's gonna be your friends who are gonna check that and bring you back down to earth. So salute to them, man. I love those guys, and not just the two that I happen to have been talking to at that particular moment, but all of them, all the whole group of them guys. I just want to say that. So walking in faith, walking in confidence, and that's what we're gonna do. So in another conversation, I think a lot of this stuff has been on my mind because I've been pulled into these conversations. Pulled sounds bad, like I don't want to be there. I've been brought into these conversations. I've been blessed with the opportunity to sit with different people who are on different levels of where they are in life. Some people are dating and trying to figure it out. Some people picking up their Bibles for the first time in a long time. I've talked to other people who are totally in a state of disbelief. I've talked to people who are just going through something right now and just don't have the mental capacity to do anything. But as it relates I just talked about faith, but as it relates to faith, one of the tenements of mine is to be of service, is to use your talents, your gifts, and your time to help other people. I've talked to y'all about that before. That's something that my grandfather instilled in my father and my grandmother into my mother. And they both taught it to me and my siblings. And we've never been above the random act of kindness, but I mean, even deeper than that sometimes. Doing things you don't necessarily want to do because somebody needs it. Providing a lending ear when you yourself don't have the energy to necessarily give it. Giving money when you yourself are broke. And I wanted to say most, but it's not a contest. Most of the time, it's going to come in the form of something that pulls in the exact opposite direction of where you at. It's loving somebody who doesn't like you. It's that stuff. It's all the Jesus stuff. And I don't say that dismissively. It's the Jesus stuff because he was one of one who did it 100% of the time. And I ain't Jesus, and I know I don't succeed at this always, but when I'm conscious of the opportunity, I definitely try to make myself available to help others, and I'm going to keep doing that. And with that said, it's interesting how the pastor, so let me take a step back. I told y'all about this before, but as I pray more and I read more and I feel like my relationship with God is super amazing, that I hear things or I receive messages from different angles. Like you'll be thinking about something, and it's like I just told y'all, the convo with the homies a second ago, they didn't know that was something that was on my mind. It just happened to come up. You think about something over here. I wanted to make bigger strides in leadership in the church, and here we are at the leadership meeting, and two opportunities come up. Here I am wanting to pour more into this thing, and then from left field an opportunity or somebody with a helping hand comes up, somebody with a word of advice or whatever it is. I hate having to be this vague, but more stuff to come. But as you say, service, I have this availability. I need to make myself known. But the pastor was talking randomly at that leadership meeting, and he was talking about how service is a form of love. That even this weekend, they just messaged all the leaders in the men's group, and even this weekend there's an opportunity to help somebody move. And if you know me, you know I don't like moving my own stuff. And the last 3 times me and Michelle moved, we paid movers. I've had friends hit me like, yo, I'm moving. How much you need for the movers? Because I'm not trying to move nothing. I'm almost 40. And I found that this opportunity has to be taken because I don't know all the information. The text just simply said that there's a single mother in need and she needs to move up some stairs even. And funnily enough, this is service, man. It's doing the thing I don't even want to do for myself, but because somebody else needs it and I can do it, I'm gonna make myself available. And love this woman through that method. That it might mean the world to her and it won't mean that much to me. Not much sweat off my back. I say lightly, as it's 95 degrees today here in Florida. But it won't be much sweat off my back. It won't be something I won't think twice about. But it means everything to her because she can't do it by herself. And there's people out in the world that have these things. And being a part of this leadership group has actually been not even just a leadership group, just being a part of this men's group. One of the things about this men group that I've loved is the opportunities we have to serve. And I don't necessarily love the service. I'm not trying to be in here tearing down hotels, interiors, and risking asbestos poisoning and all this crazy stuff. But I know what it means to the people that need it. And that drives me to do it, to want to do it more than I would even do it for myself. And that feels good, man. These dudes, there's 24 tables, probably 7 people minimum a piece. There's 150, 200 men that meet almost every Tuesday. And when needed as the representation of the men in the church, we show up. And I say we lightly because there's people who are way more available than me who show up way more than me. But it still feels good when I have the opportunity to take a Saturday off or use my time on a Sunday. I don't have a lot of availability. There'll be stuff at like 6 a.m. on a Wednesday. I'm at work. But when I am available, I make myself available. But we as a unit show up. And salute to Pastor Jeff, who heads that program at Lutz, for constantly being available for any of those needs in the community or anything that comes across his desk. He passes it out to the leadership group and the various tables. And I think I'm gonna push our table 19. If you wanna come through, I think we meet at the end of August on a Tuesday, and we talk a little bit about the Bible and just what it's like to live as a man every day, as a man in the church, or even not as a man in the church, just as a man. And lean on other men in that circle, but also being in community and stepping up and helping people who need is a form of love. And I wasn't saying that to try to gain any clout for what we're gonna do, but I'm gonna reach out and see if the opportunity is still available. Because the way it works in this group, dudes will snatch up the opportunity before you even get a chance to reply, before you fully get off work or finish your podcast. So anyway, I won't belabor the point anymore. If you have the opportunity to serve somebody, if somebody asks you for something and they may be a headache, they may be a constant nag, and they may be a constant energy suck, think about what your service to them will do for them. And just like I was saying earlier on impact, rather than focusing on the goal, focus on the impact. What impact will your service have for this person? I try to do so much for other people because I'm not really focused on the task. I'm focused on what it means to them. And I'll leave that at that. I want to go over a couple things before I get out of here. I thank y'all for rocking with me for this long. If you're still here, whether you listen or watching, make sure you like and subscribe. But this past Sunday, we had a worship service. That was quite amazing. I won't go too deep into detail, just to say that there was a worship and prayer service for the community. And this was like outside of normal church. We went to church that day at 11 and we was back up there at 6 o'clock and singing and praying. And we prayed for the kids before school start. And that actually brings me to the point. The amount of kids at this church, and not just the amount of kids and the energy that they bring into the, we hadn't worshiped with them because they have their own section called United in the gym on the other side. But these kids was turned. They legitimately was jumping up and down. They was praising. They was dropping to their knees and praying. And it was super dope to see people have like that fire for God and the energy and the combination, like the dichotomy. It's the dichotomy of the age difference where you see like the pastors and the people singing and the people in the crowd are all like average age, late 20s, 30s, 40s. And these kids as a group just lit over here in the corner. It was super dope. It reminded me of when I was a youth in the church. Actually was the youth pastor or youth, not pastor, choir president. These kids was turned. And when it came time for them to pray, they actually on their own like took the initiative to just pray within a circle of themselves. And again, just seeing the passion and the praise and everything that was pouring out of them was super dope. But man, this church is like, I love my old church, Greater New Salem. They still popping. I think they moved, but this church, the energy in there is awesome. And it actually makes it easy. It makes it fun to want to show up with other people who got that level of energy. They make you want to step into the building. They make you want to volunteer to keep things rolling smooth, for them to be able to do that, for them to inspire other people. And one of the things, tying back into the conversation on faith, that I was talking to my atheist homie about was actually not even just him. I talked to more than a few people about this, about their church hurt keeping them from being active in another church. I don't quite understand it because I never experienced church hurt. My old church was great. My new church seems great. If they stealing the money, God bless them. I hope they need it. And I don't have anything to do with that. They'll be handled by somebody else. But they do what they say they're going to do. They help the community. They show up. They make the building available for me to be there 4 or 5 times out of the week. And it just sucks that people let church hurt keep them from in the building when there are thousands of churches, especially just here in Tampa. There are thousands. On my street alone, where my church is on Van Dyke, there's like 10 churches on that street. You can't tell me that if you got a bad meal from this McDonald's, you're never going to any McDonald's again. I don't believe you. And I don't think you should conduct yourself that way as it relates to your faith. And I'm talking about the people who are actually believers, not the atheists. People who are believers and proclaim to be believers, who don't attend because they received some type of church hurt when they was 10. And depending on the depth, I don't want to trivialize certain people's church hurt, but if you had a bad leader, a bad pastor who gossiped or something, that's light. Come on, man. Switch churches. There's other leaders, other pastors, other churches. If it was something more personal or illegal, even, only advice I would have is to seek therapy and prayer. But I still think you should actually find a church where there's love, where there's fellowship, where there's people who move like you move, and that opportunity to be, like I was just saying, to be in the room with other people and that energy to share in your belief. Nothing matches it. I mean, the closest I can think of off the head would be like being at a sports game when your team scores or something. Like, it's like that, but like every Sunday. So keep it in mind. Don't let church hurt keep you from in the building. Walk in your faith and be a representation of God's love. That's all I've been trying to do. For my future wife here, I think we get married in what? She'd probably kill me for not knowing, like 40 something days, 40, I'm gonna say 42. And try to be a representation of God's love to her. To my friends, I try to be a representation of God's love to them. For the people who think the church don't love them, whether they be what the archetypal person that they think the church doesn't love them, God loves you. And who cares what the church thinks in terms of people, because people are always going to fail you. Just focus on God, man. With that being said, this has been episode 13 or 14. And I am Mike Lake. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching Unfinished Work Show. You know, I've been thinking about that slogan. I love it. My creator's not done with me, and he's not done with you either. And one of the songs they were singing in church is, he's not done with me yet. He's not done with you. I'll see y'all next week.